Thanks, Ray. I'm going to give a quick outline, a little bit of the new environment. And first, what I'd like to do is sort of explain how Super Shuttle sees the new environment and what it's meaning to us, and then sort of give you an idea of what we're doing to adjust to the new environment. And generally, I think that can be summed up in three areas. What we're doing with our new technology. We're behind the game on that. We're starting to catch up a little bit. And one thing I think the TNCs have done is given us a kick in the backside to improve our technology. So we'll talk a little bit about our new technology, some new service types that we're doing. And then unfortunately in the new environment, when you're starting to see revenues decline, I'd say overall in some months we're down 6, 7, and even 8% in gross revenues. Obviously, you've got to start taking a look at your expenses, which for us are below the gross profit line, the fixed expenses, and what we're doing about that. I mean, we've been through a lot of this stuff, so I'm going to zip through the first few slides pretty quickly. I mean, the new environment to us sort of comes in a couple of different buckets here. You know, first of all, the new competition, which we've talked about quite a bit, highly funded TNCs, basically in a position now to be able to lose a significant amount of money. These guys are absolutely marketing focused. They do an incredible job in their marketing and public relations. We all know that. You can't go into any airport where they're operating in and not constantly see signs for these new types of services and new companies. And they're churning drivers at astronomical rates. We've talked about that too a little bit through the years. Jury's out if these drivers are making money or not making money, but they go through a high volume of drivers, and that's sort of the new competition, both for our customer, but obviously for the driver as well. Thank you very much. Okay. The new environment also, obviously is also rising customer expectations. We used to be able to build rides on the curbs, 15 or 20 minutes, try to get people together, group them, get them out the door. Well, now, you know, people are expecting almost immediate shared ride service. They click a button to get ready to go on. Greater technology with the smartphones that we've seen a lot of activity with, expecting real-time communication. And this isn't only just in getting into your shared ride vehicle and taking your service, but also we see that significantly, and this is probably a presentation for another day, in the whole social media deal. You know, you have to have people, they give information over social media. You got to respond to that thing very, very quickly. Our objective on that usually is to try to get a conversation offline and then back online with like, hey, we're glad we fixed your problem. And now customers are expecting extremely low prices. Doug Alcott and I were up in San Francisco a while back, right after, not Labor Day. Yeah, Labor Day. Yeah. And we're standing there and we're looking for our Super Shuttle. We're getting ready to get in our Super Shuttle vehicle, which was clean and ready to go and on the curb in about a half a minute. And anyway, some guy behind us said, you know, screw it, TNCs are surging right now, I'm just going to take a cab. So he's expecting the low prices that he's been getting from TNCs, didn't get him that day, gravitated over. And obviously the new environment too is a little bit of a reduction in regulation. We rely a lot on regulation. Regulation helps us manage our independent contractor model. Airport rules and regs do that for us, PUC rules. But the new environment are all three of these things sort of combined together. So I promise not to bash too hard on this because you've heard me probably get pretty passionate about this before. So I will not whine about what's going on. Bill talked about it a little bit, and others have. $1.2 billion in loss in the first 6 months. The customers benefit from that low pricing. I've used pool service in a couple of different markets. I'm often a 1-for-1 because there's more subsidies on top of that. So here I am paying a pool price or a shared ride price, but getting basically getting taxi service for that. I want to talk a little bit about Phoenix. Right now, Phoenix just entered in, or just allowed both Lyft and Uber into our markets. And the spend on them was $1 million for Uber alone for the grand opening budget, and that's $1 million a month. I don't know how many months it's going for, but it's $1 million a month. It's already been on for about 2 to 3 months already. And they have total airport coverage out there. So don't believe me, because most people don't. Here's some of the different articles you can see out there. Sort of backing me up here. You know, Uber loses 1.2, 1.27. Talks a little bit about what Lyft's doing. Here's a new play that they're working right now with subscription type based business where you can get a subscription for Uber and bundle rides and very inexpensively. You can get Uber rides for as low as $1 next month. Are you going with 75 cents, John? Or are you going to keep your price? So anyway, some tough stuff out there. And here's some of the things that they're doing in Phoenix, and this is what the $1 million is getting them. This is 2 separate sub photos on the same screen, but it gives you an idea of, you know, how can one compete. And really, we're not out here to out Uber, but we're out here to survive and still give a very good transportation option for people because, first of all, because of our brand. I think John feels the same way about his brand. We have a lot of loyalty, and we do try to differentiate ourselves, which I'll get into a little bit as well. So I sort of summed it up in 3 areas here, technology and new service types, as well as some cost cutting. So I'm going to go talk a little bit about the app. We discussed this at the last meeting, so I'm not getting into great detail, but we've really been pushing our app heavily over the last 6 months. And we think this is obviously a big piece of our strategy going forward. Now, not everybody's going to use an app. Not everybody's got a smartphone. People still do things the old-fashioned way. But this is a big part of our move. From a reservation standpoint, 70% of the reservations that we take are either over the app, the mobile website, or our desktop website, and only 30% are taken in our call center today. So obviously a lot of it is gravitated over through the years. And here's a bunch of the new features that we have, which I'll talk about a little bit. Our Ride Now feature and some nonstop, and then some other types of technology which we were behind on and have sort of gotten caught up. So our Ride Now feature is pretty cool. You land at the airport, you open up the app, you can immediately request a vehicle. Before, you'd have to go to the curb, you'd have to talk to an agent, you'd have to tell them where you're going. Now you can get off your plane, make your reservation as you're walking towards our curb personnel, or maybe in the future no curb personnel if it comes down that line. So we're pretty excited about that. We're doing close to 350 to 400 reservations a day based on the Ride Now app, and that's across all of our markets, 23 markets. So we expect that to grow significantly going forward. We've also started a nonstop service. That's a new service type that we have. It's usually 1 to 3 passengers. Uber has done a good job on that they charge the same for 1 person or for 2. We find out our passenger counts are about 1.3 passengers per reservation. So typically we do a lot of single ride trips. We typically have extra seats available in the van anyway. So we've gone ahead and done a nonstop van service there as well. So the Ride Now feature and the nonstop service are 2 things that we're pretty excited about. And on the nonstop service, we're right now doing close to $180,000 in gross revenue a week across all the markets. So it's been pretty well received. Some of the technology to keep us relevant going forward here, the vehicle locator is on the left there. That's new technology to us in the last year, but not necessarily new in the Uber world. So we've got that pretty well taken care of. Stop identification is a very cool piece of technology that TNCs use and Super Shuttle does as well. You can see what stop you are in the line. Back in the early days of Super Shuttle, I came from the hotel industry, and I was always telling our drivers, hey, tell people what stop you're at, tell them about how long you're going to get there, and I think it probably happened about 10% of the time. So now we have the ability to go ahead and line that up. The next slide over from there is our Super Shuttle self-check-in. I think we talked about that quite a bit a meeting ago, where if you have a reservation, you can check in on your mobile device and start our ability to build a load for you. So that is what we have up there. And then our new item that just came out was contacting our driver directly. This has been very well received. It's reduced a lot of the calls in our dispatch centers today, and obviously we're trying to reduce our staffing in there. But gives the driver and the customer the ability to connect without calling us, so they connect automatically. And then we've got some canned messages, I'll be out right away, or please give me a call, or they can enter their own personal message in there too. And we get to watch what these messages are and then manage our business based on what those messages are. So you'll see very reoccurring issues that we can go ahead and fix either with technology or through working with our drivers on how to fix issues. And then we just opened up, we can now edit all your trips online. Prior to the last 3 months, you could make a reservation online, you could cancel it online, but you couldn't change your information online, which was problematic to say the least. So now you can make all your trip edits online too to reduce the number of calls that we take in the call center. So to get a little bit to the regulation reduction, elimination of MAG, I think Bill and some other people have talked about it. We were successful in eliminating a MAG at the Phoenix airport. We reduced our MAG, Jim reduced our MAG in Los Angeles, and the reason that's important, where we used to be able to bid a contract or accept a MAG because you could basically forecast a certain amount of business you'd get. Now with all the competition, who knows what kind of gross revenues are going to come in. So we've been able to do both of those, and we're moving into the other airports as part of our strategy to be profitable. Counter space, is it needed or preferred? It certainly is preferred. Bill and I were talking about that yesterday. Do we have to have it operationally? No. But if you go back a few slides and you see these guys are spending $1 million a month in advertising, having some kind of presence in a baggage claim area or some kind of sign to be able to operate out of, this is certainly preferred today. Curb space is still preferred. We like to have our representative out there, and I'll talk about that in a second. Improvement in overall facilities, getting out of our third-party facilitators, which are, unfortunately, we still have a couple of contracts where we have a third-party curb coordination program. We're trying to get out of those. And we're also trying to change our contracts to have less regulatory activity in regards to fares and hours of service. Hours of service is not necessarily referring to drivers as much as we have some contracts where we have to have people on the curb from 4 a.m. till 1 a.m. Well, we're doing nothing from 4 to 6, I can tell you that right now. So to add a little bit of flexibility for us that way and reduce some staffing. And the last piece here is just our internal situation, what we're doing operationally. We're sizing down our operations, and we actually have a little bit of less oversight by humans today. I think out of the 23 markets, we've cut about $2.5 million of hard cost out of that stuff. We're sort of at a point where we're very meticulously looking at every single expense and saying, if this isn't for safety, if this isn't for customer service, this isn't for the betterment of the employees, why are we spending this money? And can we get out of some of that stuff and move on? And some tough decisions obviously have to be made on that, but we're working extremely hard there. And I talked about a little bit before, we're working and continue to work, I think, as an industry here to differentiate ourselves against this new competition. Super Shuttle, Go, other companies like ours, we have guaranteed availability. If you come into Phoenix Airport, I've got a concession agreement there, I have to get you. In Uber, you could get surge priced, or there are times you can say, I'm sorry, we have no vehicles available. I mean, that does happen, I've seen it. And we have a guaranteed availability, we have a guaranteed service area. One thing I did not put on here is we have guaranteed ADA, okay? And you could say, well, Uber does too, it's got the A service on the bottom, okay? I click that a lot, and I see no availability a lot too, so I don't know how that works. Guaranteed transparent pricing, talked about that a little bit. Although we like to have flexibility in raising and lowering our prices, the price you get today is the price you get tomorrow, so you can be guaranteed on that. You don't need a smartphone with us, we differentiate from that. We accept all forms of payment, cash. People do pay with cash every now and then. I never have cash in my pocket, but I have a wife and 3 girls at home. So, but outside of that, some people do carry around a little bit of money. Human contact, very, very important. We believe there's still an importance for a human element, whether it's a curb personnel person, whether it's somebody you can call on the phone. We did a branding study probably about 8 months ago, and it said on there that still 56% of the people who are taking airport transportation like to have the option to call somebody on the phone about their reservation, whether it's to check on their van or whatnot. And we have safe and knowledgeable drivers. I think Abu was talking earlier about in San Francisco that, there's a lot going on at the curb. You've got this structure in place where you're charging the TNCs, I get that. But you have so many new drivers all the time. Where do you park? How long can you dwell? That churning of drivers, that I believe is going to be problematic for all airports downstream. But our guys are usually sort of in it for the long haul. That's all I got. Thanks.